They call me crazy for believing in the things that seem impossible. They call me crazy, but one day I'll be the man on the moon. If you believe they put a man on the moon, then you see that you're special like me, special like me.
Hello, I am Andy.
I want to be the biggest star in the world.
Your act is like an amateur hour.
I'm not like everybody else.
I really like what you did out there.
I'm not a comedian. I don't want to go for cheap laughs.
You jerk!
What's wrong with this guy?
They detest you.
That means we're a success.
40 million people watching every week.
Time for Latka.
Some of us at Saturday Night Live think Andy Kaufman's a comic genius.
Thank you very much.
Andy Kaufman and the wrestling match.
You said some pretty inflammatory things. I'm sorry.
Monopoly 21, checkers and chess. Mr. Fred Blassie and a breakfast mess. Let's play Twister, let's play Risk. Yeah. I'll see you in heaven if you make this. Now, Andy, did you hear about this one? Tell me, are you locked in the punch? Hey, Andy, are you goofing on Elvis? Hey, baby, now, Andy, are we losing touch? If you believe they put a man on the moon, man on the moon. If you believe there's nothing up his sleeve, then nothing is cool. Moses went walking on the staff of wood. Got beaten by the apple.
But you might also be good, because the story of the man, the myth.
Egypt was troubled by the horrible asp.
What I'm good at. Carrey brings the legend to life.
Mr. Charles Darwin had the golden mask. Andy, did you hear about this one? Tell me, are you locked in the punch? Hey, Andy, are you goofing on Elvis? Hey, baby, are you having fun? If you believed they put a man on the moon, man on the moon. If you believed there's nothing up his sleeve, and nothing is cool.
A few minutes ago, the United States ambassadors to every country in the world told the leaders of those nations what I'm about to tell you. The comets are still headed for Earth.
Here's a little edge for the never.
Now, we've been planning for the worst, so I hope you'll bear with me and listen to what I have to say.
Here's a little ghost for the offering.
To ensure the continuation of our way of life, we've been preparing a network of immense
Here's a
caves
truck
where we can
stop
put 1 million
instead
people
of St.
in the ground for 2 years.
Peter's.
On August 10th,
Mr. Andy Kaufman's gone
we'll randomly select 800,000 Americans to join the 200,000
Andy, did you hear about this one? Tell me, are you locked in the punch? Andy, are you goofing on Elvis?
the largest spaceship
Are we
ever
losing
constructed
touch?
to stop the comets.
If you believed
We will
they put a
prevail.
man on the moon,
Life will
man on the
prevail.
moon. If you believed there's nothing up his sleeve, then nothing is cool. If you believed they put a man on the moon, man on the moon. If you believed there's nothing up his sleeve, then nothing is cool. If you believed they put a man on the moon, man on the moon. If you believed there's nothing up his sleeve, then nothing is cool.
Are we on? Are we on?
We're on, Mr. President.
A few minutes ago, the United States ambassadors to every country in the world told the leaders of those nations what I'm about to tell you. The comments are still headed for Earth.
Morgan Freeman plays
Now, we've been planning
Barack
for the worst,
Obama
so I hope you'll
in
bear
Deep
with me and listen
Impact.
to what I have to say.
He must stop a collision between the Earth and meteorites that want
ensure
to
the
destroy
continuation of our way
everything.
of life,
Lex
we've
Luthor
been
is
preparing
at
a
it
network of
again,
immense caves,
and he
and
is
we can put 1 million
hell-bent
people
on
in them,
destroying the
underground for
world
2 years.
unless blacks go back to a slavery situation
10th, we're
where
going to
only
hold a
white
national
men
lottery.
are in
A
power.
computer
It's
will
up
randomly
to some
select
astronauts
800,000
to stop
Americans to join
Armageddon
the
from happening.
200,000
Deep Impact is
scientists,
also the
teachers,
prequel
soldiers,
to the Bruce
and
Willis
artists
thriller
who have already been chosen.
Armageddon. It is brilliant. It is breathtaking.
In addition,
But also
the
it
United
has
States
a lot
and
of
Russia
emotional
have been building the
resonance.
largest spaceship ever constructed.
Nothing like
to stop
the
the comets.
90s to remind you about how we have
We
to save
will
the
prevail.
world again.
Life will go on.
Today we shall look at a very complicated subject. Space exploration. Of course, I don't have a degree in aerodynamics, but I shall use, what I know, what I've learnt in school, combined with the vision of many Hollywood writers to give you some insight, right? Let's get this party started. We're gonna start with the facts and then get into the science fiction. Okay, so what we know is that we had a moon landing in 1969. America won the space race with the Soviets, and they sent Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and some other people into space. And they landed on the moon. One giant leap from man. One giant leap for mankind. I don't remember how it goes, but anyway. Yeah, so Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, and it changed everything for everyone. In 2019, a film was released with images and never before seen video image from the moon landing. It starred Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and other people. I just watched the documentary, and it's really fantastic. It was really critically acclaimed, has a score of 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's really not very interesting though. It's very boring and mathematical. They were hiding the dialogue because they didn't want to hear the Soviets listening into them. So they were hiding a lot of information. It's not easy to be tuned to that station. So when you watch it, you gotta watch it with the subtitles. But really, it's awesome because it talks about something that actually happened, the moon landing. There have been questions about whether the moon landing was faked. There's a film starring Scarlett Johansson, Channing Tatum, that talks about, the whole moon landing. Was it faked or not? In the film starring Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum, I can't remember the title now. Well, it talked about how NASA deliberately created a situation where they would televise a fake moon landing, whilst the actual moon landing
was happening? Well, they wanted to hire actors to fake the moon landing because they just did not believe it was possible. They did the science, they did the maths, but it just had never happened before. It felt so out of body, out of realities, like out of a Star Wars book, that they just thought it could not happen. So NASA was actually planning to fake the moon landing. Well, while this was all happening, the actual Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and other scientists were plotting an actual landing on the moon. So in the end, what they decided is they wanted to fool the Soviets, so they created a situation where they had some actors to fake the moon landing, whilst the moon landing was actually happening. So a lot of people saw a fake moon landing on their television, but the real moon landing was hidden because it would be too frightening. Plus, maybe the Soviets would get mad and try to bomb America, that kind of thing, you know. But what was the significance of the moon landing? Why did we want to go into space? Well, space exploration is important. We need to understand just how old the Earth is. We need to understand, you know, how old the moon is. And after Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, he found out a lot about the moon. Like, the moon is at least 4.5 billion years old, which means it's not a young fella. That's like a grandmother's grandmother's grandmother, you know, ancestor's ancestor's ancestor. And we do know that the moon was part of the Earth. It broke away from the Earth during the Big Bang event, you know, rising. So we know that the Earth has been involved in a lot of Armageddon type situations. And it is possible that the cosmos was just one big planet that disintegrated into other planets. We don't understand where gravity came from, but we just know that gravity is related to time dilation. And I would say gravity has an effect on everything, and it creates different dimensions of time, space, and everything. What I'll tell you is that God's secrets are hidden in the planets. If we study the 9 planets, or is it the 8 planets, we can understand more about God. So Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, you know, set out to discover more about God's tranquility. What did he want us to discover about him? They had to go into space to find out, go into the heavens, descending. And also, we were trying to stop a crisis. You know, if we did not land on the moon in time, the Soviet Union were planning to create a Death Star on the moon. They wanted to land on the moon and create some Death Star thingy, like the one you see in Star Wars or Star Trek, and then try to destroy planets from the moon. You know, the moon can be a center of evil, and it is believed that aliens do actually hide on the dark side of the moon, like shown in Transformers. So maybe Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong were superheroes with lightsabers trying to fight off aliens and trying to stop them from destroying the Earth and everything. Well, that's science fiction, or maybe science fact. We just don't know exactly what happened. But what we do know is that the moon landing changed everything. When we think about the cameras on our phones, they were developed because of the small cameras that Neil Armstrong was using on the moon. Also, we look at LED lights, STEM science, look at science, technology, engineering, mathematics. It became more empowering after the moon landing. People were losing hope. The 60s were very dark, my friends. We lost Martin Luther King. We lost John F. Kennedy. We lost Malcolm X. The world was stressed. Racism was on the max. And some people were thinking of joining Marxism because, capitalism just wasn't working out. The economy was in disarray, okay? So it brought a lot of hope to the world. We were in a crisis. Yes, we won the World War, but there was a conflict between the Soviets and America, and America needed to win the Cold War. It's like a Running Man competition, and one of the conditions was for America to land on the moon first, because the Soviets also had their own scientists that wanted to land on the moon and do some evil experiments. Well, recently India also landed on the moon, like they had the moon landing. And they don't really talk about it, but I know they did a lot of experimentation that led to something amazing. So the works of Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong stand out as special because they ended World War, and also they made us see that we are much bigger than we think. We human beings were put on this world for a purpose, to achieve God's purpose and do something great. Become an astronaut. Do what you got to do to change the world and impact it in a great way.
Houston, we have a problem. We got a wicked shimmy up here. Houston, we are
Far above the clouds, a plane is moving, inspiring me to be the best of me. If you believe they put a man on the moon, a man on the moon, then you will see that you were special like me, special like me. We can dream and achieve the most in this life. All we have to do is put our minds to it, our minds to it. Get to work.
We don't have that much time.
A little late, Coop.
Yeah, we had a flash.
The other day, we did speak about Star Wars and its connection to Star Trek and how they are basically one and the same thing. And I talked about how Star Trek is really in the Pandora universe, so it's like a virtual reality video game that Lex Luthor has created, and people must battle in intergalactic wars. So Captain James T. Kirk is part of this Pandora universe. But who created Star Trek?
No, we didn't.
Who created Star Wars? Well, we know the brainchilds of those universes. George Lucas was very influential. But Neil Armstrong is actually one of the people that actually really pioneered space films, because his ideas with actual exploration in space led to great movies like Star Wars, Star Trek series, Star Trek movies, the Space Odyssey film. And all this actually came from the experiences of Neil Armstrong on the moon. And he had great visions about what could come soon. So he also literally took part in the virtual reality video games where he was on an intergalactic spaceship fighting monsters and aliens. And believe it or not, Neil Armstrong does actually speak about how he interacted with aliens, not only on the moon, but on secret missions to Mars and other places. There's a lot about NASA that they don't tell us, and a lot of it is hidden. It's top secret, but today they're like, you can have this. Let's give a drunk African man the license to talk.
The whole Apollo program was designed to get 2 Americans to the lunar surface and back again to Earth safely. The enormity of this event is something that only history will be able to judge. Apollo 11 is very simply been given the mission
all these came from the
men to the moon, landing them there, and bringing them safely back.
A lot of it is not properly documented. They only give us a little bit of something to sketch our imagination, but it's much more. In 2014, Christopher, Academy Award-winning, critically acclaimed director, the man behind Event, an Indian surveillance drone. The one who made Inception, made a film so freaking confusing. Today, the scientists are still baffled to say, what did he really mean? But he was too fascinating for us to ignore. Interstellar. You need to study like so many books to understand just half the movie. But he got a lot of groupies who want to hang out with the science nerds and know all about interstellar travel.
No, we didn't.
Hey. Matthew McConaughey, Academy Award winner.
What?
Also, Academy Award winner Jessica Chastain, Academy Award winner Matt Damon, critically acclaimed actor Michael Caine,
We
and
must
others.
confront the
And
reality.
Academy Award
But
winner
nothing
Anna
in
Hathaway
ourselves
star
is
in Interstellar. It only has this record of 73% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is absolute madness. It should have somewhere in the 90s. It's brilliant. It's really changed my life. I love it so much. So what is the premise of Interstellar? In Interstellar, the premise is this: the Earth is dying. We're running out of resources. We're about to reach a Mad Max type situation where, we don't have any food anymore, can't grow food naturally because Lex Luthor has zapped out all the nutrients out of the soil and taken it for himself to grow on his farm so he can grow tomatoes and everybody can buy tomatoes from him at a very high price. Right. Okay. So there's an artificial shortage of food. And now what is happening is NASA has to play the fool. They have to pretend as if this is the end of the world. It's the end of the world as we know. Well, it's not really the end of the world. They have a solution and everything, but they are hiding it from Lex Luthor. So they trick it into forming a science mission. They say, we're going to go to Mars. I'm trying to find out if human beings can inhabit Mars. We're going to go to different planets. Well, they make a huge discovery in doing this. They find that there has been a wormhole that has been created. What a wormhole is, basically, is like when a star blows up, it sucks everything into it. Like, it creates like an interdimensional thing. So like gargantua is what they call it. A wormhole. It's like an interdimensional sphere. And it's still very much theoretical physics, but a lot of people do believe it. And what it really is a channel in which you can enter a different dimension. So after studying a wormhole, the likes of Cooper, who's played by Matthew McConaughey, discovers that, hey, we can go to a different planet and we can inhabit that planet and we shall save civilization. They'll find that there are different planets in a different dimension that human beings can inhabit in case we face Armageddon on Earth. Right. So they go on this space mission and say, let's go and check out these planets across the wormhole. What they don't account for is that when they enter the wormhole and enter different planets, there is what is called time dilation, because space-time is different from time on Earth. This is why we believe Earth is like one giant time machine, because once you leave Earth, you're no longer subject to the time on Earth. So what that means is you are now operating on space-time. So space-time is different because when you're on Mars, you've got a soul. Every day is like called a soul. So one soul day is equal to 24 hours plus 39 minutes. So and this is because Mars rotates slower than the Earth. So it's 39 minutes slower than the Earth. So you might get much older on Mars than you are on Earth. So it's like planets are time machines, right? So once you enter the wormhole and go into different planets, there is what is known as time dilation. Now, time dilation means that time moves differently. So Matthew McConaughey and his friends, they end up on a binge watching Star Trek and Star Wars, trying to understand if they can actually use that science in real life. And like, no, man, I don't think we could do that. But then they're like, okay, let's go to these other planets. They enter the wormhole, they jump onto one planet, and time dilation makes everything slow down, which means that now they are aging, but then they don't feel that their age has changed because of the time changes. The space-time dilation changes. So when they go back to Earth, everybody's getting old. Everybody's older because the mission took a long time. Say for them, maybe the mission took 2 or 3 years, but on Earth it's like 20 years have passed by. So because of this whole time dilation thing, they're running out of time really quick. Because every minute they spend on a different planet, checking to see if we can have human existence on this planet. Years are wasting away on Earth. So this is like a time machine that is really speeding up time, and they're running out of time to save the world. In the end, Matthew McConaughey finds a solution to everything. He finds a planet on which human beings can inhabit after the destruction of the earth. The catch is, this whole time, Matthew McConaughey has been the ghost that haunted the scientists on Earth. You see, when he entered the different dimension, when he entered the wormhole, he was able to communicate with his younger self. He was able to communicate with his daughter when she was young and tell her about the solutions that are coming in the future. So it's like Matthew McConaughey now exists in two time frames, in the future and also in the past. By entering this new dimension that he has discovered, he's able to go back into the past and warn people about Lex Luthor's plan and reverse everything. The truth is, my friends, NASA has been tricking Lex Luthor. They would not go to any planet. They already have enough planets and food, damn it, but they've been hiding from Lex Luthor. So what happens is that Cooper pretends to go to a new planet and then say, it's time for us, we must reach far to become the new Adam and Eve on this new planet. They're not gonna do that. They're just doing some funny space exploration stuff. In fact, does the planet even exist? It does. But they don't want to risk having humans come into stellar traffic and die because the inhabitants are not good enough for them. A similar thing is happening in the world right now, where we have Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos building spaceships to go to Mars.
To be continued in the next video. Go drink your tea.